Good evening, Dungeon Masters. I'm Baron Durop. Arcane Library Shadowdark fixes everything about 5th edition that has frustrated me since its publication and has improved a number of issues in various retro clones and older editions of the game as well. 5e is not a simple game. Sure, it's less crunchy than Pathfinder or GURPS, but handing a player's handbook to a new-to-the-hobby adult who has a career and children to raise will immediately enter a state of panic. Even making characters with experienced casual players takes at least an hour. Worse still, until a player has actually played a game for a few sessions and starts getting a grasp of the rules, character creation is opaquely mathematical and full of unfamiliar jargon to people outside of a hardcore gaming background. Clocking in at over 700 words per page and spread across 180 pages, character creation can't be called complete until a player has perused a word count equivalent of Pride and Prejudice by Jane Austen.
Hey, that's my favorite book.
Contrast this with Shadowdark, however, which concisely describes the character creation process in only 6,000 words and just on 41 pages. After players finish rolling up their stats, they next choose their ancestry and class. Ancestry descriptions are straightforward with 50-word descriptions and abilities. Class descriptions, as well as the earned perks upon leveling up, are all contained within a single page. Further, upon advancement to every other level, characters roll on a talent table to find out what incremental class bonus their character will receive, whether that's a boost to a few stats, better attack rolls, or something else entirely. Instead of a 20-line matrix table and 4 pages of ability descriptions, the whole character class advancement ordeal is handled in a 6-line table. While there are players who enjoy meticulously planning their character's advancement, the vast bulk of players are just as excited to crack open the book and find out what new special ability or power-up they're about to get when they level up. Rolling for it instead just adds to the fun. Something I've lamented concerning 5th edition is how confusing the magic system is for players who are just getting started or even experienced casual players who are playing a spellcaster for the first time. A 5th level wizard can only cast 3rd level spells and knows a different number of spells than the amount that they can cast per day, except for their cantrip spells, which they can cast ad nauseum. It's exceptions all the way down. Further, the amount of spells characters can cast is entirely diluted by how weak they are in 5th edition when compared to prior editions. Charm Person even makes its target aware they were charmed after the spell ends. Of course, BX D&D, as well as other retro clones, have the opposite problem. It is entirely possible to roll up a 1st level magic user with a single hit point and a single spell that the character casts and forgets until they take a long rest. Crom forbid the wizard prepares and casts a useless sleep spell on some elves only to turn into a single unarmored hit point until the party makes camp. Shadowdark solves both of these issues. First, spells indicate their inherent power level by simply changing the jargon from spell level to spell tier. Obviously, this is a minor change, but it goes a long way in reducing newbie confusion. Secondly, spellcasters know about as many leveled spells as they do in 5th edition, but don't necessarily lose them after casting them a single time like they do in D&D. Instead, characters may cast a spell as often as they want, so long as they're making a spellcasting check of DC 10 plus the spell's tier rating. Only after the spellcaster fails this check is the spell uncastable until a long rest. Furthermore, because spellcasters now have to roll that spellcasting check, critical successes allow the caster to double any numerical aspect of the spell, like charming 2 people instead of 1 with Charm Person, or doing double damage with a fireball. While I'm a huge fan of the tactical nature of 5e combat, the gritty detail of it can be needlessly pedantic. The difference between 30 feet and 35 feet is seldom worth debating in order to keep the game moving and remain collaborative with your players. Shadowdark implicitly gives permission to game masters to be more hand-wavy with these measurements, and instead uses language like close, near, and far in place of hard distances. Furthermore, resource management is made more important important while maintaining elegance and simplicity. Torches burn out in an hour of real-world time. Resting in dangerous locations has a risk and reward factor that might drain away limited rations. And every problem I've ever had with insta-death found in older editions of D&D, or conversely, problematic immortality granted by 5e's death saves, is totally remediated in Shadowdark. When a character drops to 0 hit points, the player rolls a d4, adds their constitution modifier, and has that many rounds till their character finally dies. Stabilization is tricky too, but doesn't require a cleric. A DC 15 intelligence check to apply emergency aid will stabilize a dying character. Contrast this with 5e, where nearly every character class has healing spells, yet it takes on average 5 combat rounds of enduring death saves for a character to actually die. Considering most deadly encounters last around 7 rounds, and characters fighting in these encounters go down on the 3rd or 4th round, it's entirely plausible for an adventuring party to just let the downed characters sit out of the combat while the remaining party members deal with the issue at hand. In the opposite extreme, characters in most retro clones who hit 0 hit points are simply dead. Period. This sense of immediate permadeath can be really bothersome for some newbie players. In Shadowdark, however, by adding some unpredictability to determine how many rounds a character has to live, even if that number might be as few as 1 round, the rule set provides a perfect balance between these two extremes. Older editions of the game, as well as a large number of retro clones, dictate that gaining experience points should be based on gold discovered, recovered, spent, or even wasted. So there was a lot of gold to be had in earlier editions of the game. But there was never a good system besides building a stronghold for doing something with it. In 5e, gold is about as meaningless as a humanities degree, yet there's still tons of it about clogging up character sheets. However, the carousing mechanic in Shadowdark takes all of this excess gold and puts it into a fun risk and reward bonus XP system. Wasting gold on ever more legendary partying grants a bonus on a carousing outcome roll, adding intoxicated revelry to the narrative in exchange for experience points. Just don't go overboard and come to in a noble's vault holding a prized magic item with no recollection of how you got there. The advice in the Game Master section has some of the most distilled and clear advice in all of RPG gaming. In fact, the advice is expressed so simply and concisely, reading it might be as enlightening as reading the Tao Te Ching. Sure, you might understand all the words on your first read-through, but a better approach is to read one section at a time and focus on 1 or 2 pieces of advice as you play your next session to see how that advice reshapes your understanding of the game. Lastly, the random adventure hook generator, random encounter tables, and systems for generating monsters and magic items are equally straightforward and inspirational. To celebrate the kickoff of Independent RPG Month, I'm hosting a Shadowdark Independent Game Jam. If you've ever been interested in writing an adventure, Game Master supplement, bestiary, or whatever, this is your opportunity to get started. The winner of the Game Jam will receive either a copy of the Shadowdark core rules or all editions of the Cursed Scroll Zine collection, a $50 Amazon gift card, and a set of Dungeon Masterpiece dice. All the details for the Game Jam are in the link in the description, where you can also get the free Shadowdark Quickstart rules to help you get going. If you'd like to help me make more content like this in the future, please consider supporting me on Patreon or becoming a channel member. Thanks for watching, Dungeon Masters, and until next time, good night.